All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our How to Make a 2D Sandbox Game in Unity series. So in the last episode, what we did was we implemented the ability to do this, to break blocks. So now, today we're going to do the opposite. We're going to do the ability to place blocks. So basically what we're going to do is say if you press right click, then he's going to place blocks. If he does left click, he's going to remove them. So yeah, it's pretty straightforward. The other thing we're going to actually implement as well is, say, for example, we don't want to be able to break blocks over here, and we also don't want to be able to place blocks over there. So that's going to be the second part of this video. So let's get straight into it, to placing blocks. So let's open up our player root object, and then open up our player controller script. Awesome. And now the only thing we have to do is say if hit, then do this. So I'm gonna have another boolean. So public bool hit, public bool place. And then here place equals input dot get mouse button. It would be 1, I believe. Try with 1, it could be 2, but I believe it's this one. And then we just have to add the function into the terrain controller. Over here, we're gonna say go away. Don't need that. Hit, because we also wanted to play the arm swinging animation if he's placing. Hit or place. And that should pass in as a boolean. So because this function returns a boolean, you can place that anywhere theoretically. So what I'll do is actually test that real quick just to make sure that that actually does what it's meant to do. If my computer science is correct, then it should, but we'll see. It's not a very traditional way of writing it, but so we hit play. And if we right click, then our player should swing his arm as well. Yes. If we left click, yes. Fantastic. Awesome. So let's go to our terrain generation script, and we're gonna go to our place tile function right down the bottom here. So this, since we've written this in a way that we can implement it anywhere, we can actually simply go to our player controller and say if we'll say else if place, because we don't want them to be able to break and place blocks at the same time. We're gonna do terrain generator dot place tile. Now it's asking for a couple parameters. The first one is an array of tile sprites, int x, int y, and bool background element. So how do we get the tile sprites? Very simple. We're gonna need to get a tile class. So for the moment, I'm just gonna say public tile class selected tile. So that's the tile he has in his hand at the moment. So down here, it's going to say selected tile dot tile sprites. Int x and int y is simply mouse pos dot x and mouse pos dot y. And then bool background element. So if we're placing that block in the background, then this is gonna be true. In our case, it's not. This is the foreground, so we're gonna say false. Now the only thing we have to do is in Unity. Let's go here to our player root object, I believe. Yep. So we just need selected tile class. So let's give it maybe stone for now. Override. I'm gonna say apply all, just so that saves to our prefab. Clear that. That's all good. Save the project and press play. And now we should be able to place tiles as well. Let's see how it goes. Yes, we are placing tiles. They should have colliders. Yes, they do. I can remove these tiles. Yes. But here's the thing. I can't place a tile here because I've removed it, but the tile doesn't, it's not visible there. The reason that's happening is because I actually forgot to write a line in the last episode, which I figured out after we ended the episode, and that's here. We're destroying the objects, right? So that's fine, but we're not removing the object from the list. So as you can see here, we're saying remove this. What we should do is also say world tile objects dot remove, and the object removing is a game object item, and the item we're removing is, I believe, In fact, I should use dot remove at. So that removes it at an index. Our index is the exact same of this, I believe. Yes. So that takes an integer into index. That's our index there. And then we have to say world tiles dot remove at, and that's the same one there as well. So what this does is it destroys the game object from the scene, and then it removes it from the list. So to say to the chunk that and to the rest of the world that that tile doesn't exist anymore. We've deleted it from our database, essentially. So now when we run that, we should be able to place tiles, remove the same tile, and then place one in the exact same spot. Should fix that issue. Let's find out. So I've spawned in my world. I can't place a tile at the moment. So remove a tile, I can place it. I can remove it, I can place it again. So that is perfect. There we go. And as you can see, as I'm placing, there's different variants because that's how we've defined our stone. So that's exactly what we want. I mean, that's exactly what I want for my game. It's up to you guys what you want for your game. But as you can see, we can't place tiles on top of trees. That's good. If I remove the tree stumps, then I can. Apart from that, yeah, it's perfect. So the only last thing we have to add is the if it's out of range. That's super simple to do. Just here we have to say if vector2 dot distance between. So there's two vectors, two we have to input. One of them is transform dot position. The other one is mouse pos. But obviously this returns float. We have to turn it into a bool. So what we have to have actually is a public, we'll say int reach maybe, player reach or range. I don't know, call it what you want. But this is gonna be the variable that determines how far away we can place stuff. So if vector2.distance is greater than is less than or equal to range, player range is what it's called. Yes. And then open the brackets and just chuck all of this inside that bracket. And then we'll just get rid of these extra brackets, which we don't need because it's one-line if statements. Awesome. And now we just have to go to our player controller, define a range, and then it should work. It's giving us a error. Why is that? No, what? We fixed it. Cool. So our player range, let's say 5 to test. That may or may not be enough. We'll find out. And this should be a circle area around the player. So it should be, I'm thinking 5 tiles across in radius. Let's see. So I can't place anything here. And then here I can start placing stuff. So let's see. I can place stuff there. I can place stuff there. I can remove that. I can place there. And yeah, I can't place on any of these ones. So yes, that is good. What I do want to do, well, what I would like to do is, if I'm placing a tile on top of a background element, such as, for example, this rock, I can't place a tile there because the rock is classified as taking up a spot. If it's in the background, I want to remove the background element and then put my tile instead. So that's a little bit of a challenge. The way we're gonna have to figure that out is in our place tile function. So how can we do this? It's a very good question. Give me 2 minutes, I'm going to figure it out. So the first thing we have to do is if place. We're saying here, if world tiles, if it doesn't contain, then place it. What we should do is actually obtain the object, check which layer it's on, and then place it. Alright, so rather than doing tile sprites there, what we'll do is have this as a tile class. So tile class tile. That's going to give us a couple errors. Well, a lot of errors. So sprite equals tile sprites. What this should be is tile dot tile sprites, and tile dot tile sprites, and then tile dot tile sprites dot name. That's fine. Any other issues? Get rid of that. That's fine for here. Order equals -5. What this should actually say is if new tile dot if tile dot is background dot in background, yes, then equals -5 equals, we'll say -10, and then else new tile dot get comment sprite render dot sorting layer equals -5. So what this says is if my tile is classified as in the background, it's going to be behind other tiles, which is correct. That's how it should be. So that's fine. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to split this if statement up into two parts. The first part is going to check if it's within world size. The second part is going to check if the tile already exists. So how are we going to do that? Very simple. From the start of this if statement all the way to the and symbol, we're going to do Control X, get rid of that. That's going to copy it to our clipboard at the same time. Inside that if statement, we're going to say if open bracket paste, so Control V, and then open a if statement. Nice and simple. Cool. So now it always has to be within the world size, of course. What we're doing is saying if it does contain it, then if it doesn't contain it, you're gonna place the tile regardless. Otherwise, if it does contain it, then we're gonna do another check, which is if the tile at that position is in background. So the way we're gonna check that is by saying if world tiles dot get dot there we go dot index of this one, new vector2 int x and y. If world tiles, here we go, world tiles open the square bracket, then this is gonna get the index of that dot. Is that correct? Because our world tiles is position, isn't it? Yes. No, that's not right. We will have to store the tile classes of everything as well, won't we? Indeed. Okay, let's fix these errors real quick. The thing we have to do is just get rid of dot tile sprites for all of this, because now we're getting the tile sprites in the place tile function, which is also smarter to do. We should have done that from the start, but this worked initially. So we're just getting rid of dot tile sprites for every single time we call place tile. So tile sprites equals that. This should be tile sprites equals that. Yes. So tile sprites should not be type of sprite array. This should now be a type of tile class. There we go. So tile class, tile, we'll rename this, right click, rename tile class. So it makes more sense. And then again, get rid of .tile sprites, get rid of .tile sprites. Yes, and yep. Get rid of that. That's cool. And those errors should now be fixed. And then scroll to the top. We now need another list. This is private list of type tile class. This is going to store all the tile classes for every tile. Unfortunately, we can't store all of these in the same list because the issue is that we're sometimes getting tile by its position, sometimes we're getting it by its object. So, and this time we're going to get it by its tile class. So yeah, a couple of issues like that, but that's fine. We're going to say world tile classes is the name equals new list of type tile class, double bracket, semicolon, done. Then the only thing we have to do is down here in our place tile function, when we say world tile objects.add, we're going to say world tile objects, world tile classes, I don't know, what do we call it? Dots, yeah, dot add. This is just going to say tile. Fantastic. And then in our remove function, we should say world tile classes dot remove at, and then the same as this. So copy paste world tiles dot index of new vector 3 xy, semicolon at the end, so that we remove all of it. This should be remove at. There we go. Oh, save that. And then in this if statement that's still giving us an error, we're going to say if world tile classes dot index of world tile classes square bracket and then world tiles dot index of new vector 2 int x comma y, close that bracket, and then close the square bracket, dot is that correct? Index of that. No, this should be another bracket there. There we go. Dot in background. So if it's in background, then we're gonna overwrite existing tile. Otherwise, we're gonna place tile. Oh, sorry, no. Otherwise, it's not gonna place tile. So no tile is placed. Okay, so that's that if statement structure done. Now we just have to fill this in. So place tile regardless. So remove existing tile. What it's going to do first is obviously remove tile and then place tile. So rather than copying this in a couple times, I'm actually going to put that into a new function. So public void check tile, and then open close that. There we go. And then the if statement we just wrote from here all the way to the top, I'm gonna do control yes, so control C. So if these lines, control C, and then control V there, and then we're gonna need another bracket placed. There we go. Obviously these are gonna give us errors because we haven't defined them in parameters, but we can now get rid of these from in here because that function is going to control them. The reason I did that is because place tile, we don't want our generation method overwriting background tiles. We want just the player to be able to overwrite tiles. So what we're going to actually do is when we check tile, that's what the player controller is going to call. So the parameters we need in here now is quite simple. It's the exact same as these. So control C that and control V that in here. So place tile regardless is going to literally just call place tile. Tile class is tile x, y, and then background element. That's it, exactly as it is. Overwrite existing tile is going to say remove tile x, y, and then place tile same as this. Control C, Control V, and then else no tile is placed. Therefore, we can get rid of that condition entirely. So now that should be fine. In our player controller method, rather than saying .place tile, it's going to say .check tile, and then we don't need to include the .tile sprites. So theoretically, if we run this, that should work. Let's have a look. Hopefully, fingers crossed, let's find out. All right, we are in. If I place, it is placing it, but it said index was out of range for the first time. So why is that? Don't know. It's also not working properly when we're placing tiles anywhere. It's giving us this weird sort of flashing thing. Index one must be non-negative and less than the size of array. Okay. In our select tile mouse pause x dot y. Okay. Is our selected tile class stone tile class? Is that in background? It should not be in background. Tall grass is. Snow should not be in background. Sand, no. Log, yes. Leaf, yes. Iron, no. Grass, no. Gold, dirt, diamond, coal should not. Snow. What's the difference between snow and snow grass? That's a rock. Okay. Let's give that a go. Make sure you set that as well properly, because that could be a possibility as to why that was breaking. Let's have a look. Okay, so now when I'm placing tiles, nothing is wrong. That's good to see. It's not flashing away. That's good. It's still giving us an error. And I think it's giving us an error whenever we click on a tile that already exists. Is that the case? Or it's when we're breaking tiles, I believe. Is that true? Yes. Okay, so when we're breaking tiles, it's giving us an error. That's fine. Can I place a tile over that tile? Yes, I can, but it's giving us an error. So let's fix that up real quick. Why is that happening? In our remove tile, it says remove at index of X and Y. Figured it out. Very simple. This should be up here, because we're removing it and then we're trying to get the index of it. It doesn't exist. So if we remove the world tiles first and then we're trying to get the index of that, since it doesn't exist, this is actually returning -1. And then we're trying to remove the element at -1, which is impossible, which is why it's saying it must be greater than 0, less than world size, etc. This should now be fine. If I can overwrite those tiles, that's fine. I can also get rid of tiles and no errors are happening. For example, I can get rid of grass and then place a tile. I can place a tile on top of grass as well. So now we just have to work on some tile drops and stuff. But yeah, so that's gonna be in the maybe next episode. The other thing that people wanted to see was auto jump. Someone commented. So if we're, for example, this is 1 block high, then be able to jump. If it was 2 blocks high, then don't be able to jump. That's an issue in itself. We are able to do this, which should not be happening. So if it's less than player range, and then let's also say, and copy that line, Control C, Control V. So if it's greater than, we'll say maybe 0.5F. I might leave it at 1. It's a bit annoying, but that's fine for the purposes of the video. Anyway, like I said, guys, thanks for watching. That's the end of this episode here. In the next episode, we're gonna go into maybe some tile drops, auto jump, and just some basic functionality improvements. I know some people wanted to see some stuff added to the terrain generation. That will be coming soon. Just kind of want to focus on the player and the actual game a bit, because we've done a lot of the terrain generation. Aside from that, inventory system is something that we definitely should look into, especially since now we've got a place tile. We should be able to choose which tile we want to place, but we might have to work on that and tile drops at the same time. Anyway, join the Discord if you haven't already, subscribe, like, all that, and I will catch you in the next one.